Blood Wars stars Kate Beckinsale, Theo James, and Laura Pulver, and is the 5th film in the popular Underworld franchise that began in 2003. Now, a little backstory. I actually enjoy a lot of the Underworld films. I like the whole concept where you have these group of vampires that are at war with these werewolf type creatures called the Lycans. And the first film really got me into that story with how it was like set in this dark underground place where these two clash together and becomes an all-out war. And so with the films starting out like that, and then it actually got me curious at how much farther this series can go. And the second film I actually was a fan of too. Like, I thought the second one was alright, but I thought it could have been a little better. The third one I thought was, as a prequel, I thought it was interesting, but I feel like because there wasn't really much weight to it, they didn't really have much to the story. So the third one is my least favorite of the series, but I still own it as part of the collection. And then the fourth one, Awakening, that came out in 2012, I actually enjoyed that one a lot on how fast-paced it was, and it brought back a lot of the feel like the first one again, especially bringing Kate Beckinsale back. And it really got me pumped to see how much farther they're going to go with the story, because in the fourth film it showed that Selene, played by Kate Beckinsale, who's the last remaining vampire of the original vampire clan, of the original group that she was in, she discovers that she has a daughter. And so in this film, Underworld Awakening, we discover that Kate Beckinsale's character, Selene, goes on the run looking for her, and at the same time, the plot involves with another group of vampires led by Laura Pulver's character, who is trying to go after these other group, who's also looking for who her and a group of the elder vampires are trying to recruit her into going after these Lycans that are the last Blood Clan, and they have to go after a guy named Marius, and he is pretty much the ultimate badass of the group. And basically that's the whole gist of it, because as a fan of the other films, I can honestly say that this one's a little bit underwhelming for me. Okay, I'll get into a lot of that later down the road, but basically the problem with this film for me is that the plot is very messy in parts. We first see that Selene is coming across is joined by the vampires to go after the Lycans, which is cool with how they set it up, but they do a lot of plot points in this where they're going from one location to the next location it's like all around just messy in parts. You know, the plot is like so spread out over the place, it just becomes so convoluted for an Underworld film. And to me, that bothered me a lot, because it felt like, because the plot was so like all over the place, it also had a problem with some of the editing, because some of the editing would have like constant flashbacks involving the previous movies, and it kept distracting me throughout the entire film. And I know that the problem I had too is that we're introduced to the head of the Lycans, Marius, I believe, and we're supposed to believe that he's supposed to be the ultimate badass of the group. But the problem is that we only see like the first few scenes of him where he's pretty much preparing to go after Selene, and he really doesn't come into play until like the last act of the film. And when it does happen, it feels like he's kind of underused. So I did have a problem with this character, because I was more interested in the other plot involving the main vampire group and Selene as well. So, and another thing too was I'm not really too familiar with Theo James as an actor. From what I heard, he's in the Divergent series, and in this film he plays David, who is more or less the replacement of Michael from the other previous movies, to basically give Selene a ally to go along with the movie. And this character I thought was just so bland and so really just generic that I really did not care at all about his character. And I'm not really too big, and I think that the guy's performance too, I thought was just very wooden. I didn't really think he had the kind of charisma, like he doesn't have like any charisma or range in a lot of parts, because he's very blunt, and he just comes across as trying to be intimidating. But I really didn't like his performance. So, and he kind of, in a way, he kind of reminds me in the face. He looks like a cross between Jason Patric and James Franco, like meshed together. It's just weird. So yeah, that was another problem I had. And then Another thing too that got to me was they do a lot of like these weird. They do some weird editing problems toward the end where we're seeing like a lot of flashbacks that are like interspliced with action scenes. And I thought that was very out of place in a lot of parts because throughout the movie we're seeing that Selene is having flashbacks of her daughter and Michael, but they kind of overdo that a lot in this one where it becomes very. It kind of takes me out of the movie. But as far as my pros, I will say that I did enjoy the action scenes, and especially a lot of the parts when we get to the final climax, which involves the Lycans and the vampires going out like an actual all-out war together. I thought that was very. It got fun in those parts when they're actually fighting, and when we get to the actual action scenes. And I will admit that the movie it runs at a fast pace. It is 90 minutes, so it's not really something that really drags. And I also really enjoyed Kate Beckinsale as Selene again. You know, I'm glad they didn't really give much to her character in this one that much until there's a twist that we will later reveal in the end, but I won't go into detail with. But I feel like because we didn't really do much character development with her or even with some of the villains, I feel like it was a bit underwhelming. And another thing I do praise is I love the gore in this one. You do see a lot of scenes where you're seeing quite the bloodshed that you expect in these Underworld films. And toward the end, I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm not going to spoil anything, but when there's a particular character that gets killed near the end, I was thinking to myself like, wow, that's something out of fucking Mortal Kombat. So I did enjoy that a lot, and it was worth it seeing those gore scenes alone in those action. It was fun seeing that the kind of gore they use. And another praise I give too is I love the cinematography in a lot of scenes, especially how it captures the snow. You know, being January and all, you got to have a snow movie. So I do love the look of it. And I even praise a lot of the visual effects they used for the Lycans. I think that they didn't overdo the CGI too much, I thought they looked fine. And another problem, going back to my cons, another problem I did have is do not see this film in 3D. This film, I can probably only count like one major part that actually uses 3D, but other than that, this 3D sucked in this one. Like, it just wasn't worth it. I'd rather just I should have watched it in 2D. But overall, the things that I did enjoy, I can say that it's fun, but on a more story standpoint, it's very messy. So it's a tad bit above like Underworld 3, Rise of the Lycans, but I still like the other ones better in this one. So with that, I'm going to give the film a 6 out of 10. What did you guys think of the Underworld Blood Wars? Comment below, and if you guys like what you see here, you can check out more of my reviews on my channel. And I'll be seeing you and welcome to 2017. I'll be seeing you in more reviews coming up. I'll see you later.